So what you can do is if I head over to the My Library section of the platform, this is the side where you can create your own font list and then share that font list with other folks on the team. On the top left-hand corner, I can create a font list, a web project, a digital ad, or a folder. If I click on a font list, this is the font that you would commonly use to do any testing or mock-up work. So in this case, I will go ahead and create a particular font list. I've already created one called 101 Test. And now what I could do is simply head back over to the Browse section, begin searching, looking for a font. In this case, I'll pick Neue Helvetica, which brings us to the Neue Helvetica family page. I'll scroll down, and instead of wanting to sync the entire family, I just want to add 1 or 2 weights to that particular font list folder. So I'd like to add 35 thin. So I can go ahead and select it here and click Done. And then I'll add 1 more, thin italic. And when I select it, I also have the option of which format that I would like to use, as some fonts in the inventory are available in both OpenType Pro, OpenType Standard, as well as TrueType flavored fonts too. So if you need TTF files, we most certainly have them here to support as well. So I'm going to go ahead and add that weight as well. Now that we've added those 2 particular weights, if I quickly head back over to my library and click into that 101 test, you'll see that 2 weights are now available here. Now that my font list has been created, I can share my font list out with other individuals, departments, or teams. At the top left hand, I can click on Share Access. In order to share the font list, the other user or department need to be registered to the Monotype Fonts platform. You can invite your users, invite external vendors if you like to, and that way you can share that font list. Once you invited them into the list, they'll have access, and it gives them better clarity, understanding, and confirming that we're all using the same version of the same font from one location, a true single source of truth, and better clarity for your clients and designers so that I know exactly which font was approved. As it can happen when we're thinking of classic legacy fonts, think of like Helvetica or Arial, it can be confusing if we're using different versions of that font. So with Monotype Fonts, this gives you better clarity and confidence that we're all collaborating with the correct font file and font format. From up here, once you reach this particular font list, it's very easy to simply click on Sync All, and any fonts that were added into this particular font list will automatically activate to your Monotype Font desktop app. Aside being able to search, you can also co-collaborate. So if you'd like to create a font list and have someone else work with you to add fonts, remove fonts, invite other users, you most certainly can do so, as well as making that font list shareable company-wide, or if you just need to lock it down and only share it to one individual, you most certainly can do so. The other nice cool feature about the Monotype platform is it allows you to either sync the font, or for the admin folks that have access to the Monotype Fonts platform, you also have the ability to download the actual font file. So if there's ever a need to package that font file, know that you also have that option as well. But I would encourage you to work with your admins of the Monotype Fonts platform to get that permission if you already have it. Otherwise, you could feel to reach out to us if you have any questions regarding that. But the Monotype Fonts platform does allow 2 delivery mechanisms when it comes to using font to do any design or mock-up work. Now, aside from having the fonts in OpenType and TrueType formatted flavors, also Monotype Fonts offers web font files as well. So if a web font is needed, the best practice is to first click on Create New on the top left-hand corner and actually create a web project first. You'll need to create a web project prior to downloading any web font files. So for this example, I've already created one ahead of time. So let me just go into my web project here. And I've added 4 weights of Futura. Now, when you do package those web font files, there are 2 mechanisms in terms of deployment of our web font files. If you prefer, we provide you a line of code. So if you'd rather host a web font on our CDN, you can do so. You also have the ability to download the self-hosting kit. This actually gives you the web font files so that you can self-host as you see fit. We also provide you the HTML and CSS. And then lastly, we provide a subset tool. In short, what the subset feature tool does is it decreases the size of a web font file. So if you've ever had a concern about the overall web font performance, rendering, legibility, know that you have the subsetting tool at your disposal. This is highly beneficial when you're using subsetting on any non-Latin fonts. So think of Asian fonts, just in general, anything non-Latin. Typically, those web font files are huge. The subset tool can be super beneficial, decreasing the size. You can stay on brand and know that that font will render and perform correctly. The only thing to keep in mind is anytime you subset a file, if there's any new changes or adjustments, you'll need to download an entirely new desktop self-hosting kit to ensure it captures the correct format and the size of the web font file. And then lastly, if I head back over at the top, if I click into the Resources tab, know that over in the Resources tab, you'll have our case studies, check out our podcast, as well as some of our collections and case studies that are available directly within here. And I know I covered a lot of ground today, and I know it's also being recorded, but I'd also like to remind you that on the top right-hand corner, if you are registered Monotype Fonts users, click on the dropdown and head over to the Help Center section. Everything I discussed today and more is broken up into step-by-step documentation down here below, or I would encourage you to bookmark my video tutorial. Here, I've actually created short little 2-3 minute videos of every section within the Monotype Fonts platform. How to actually search for fonts, maybe download those fonts, syncing, creating those folder structures, and all that good stuff in terms of importing fonts or structuring your library or the similar functionality. And if you have any other questions beyond this, I always encourage you to reach out to Monotype, as we are your font friends and we're happy to help.